It's an A24 movie. The gore is out here.
Ah.
You will see some viscera and some wild shit. All right, so all right, this is another episode of the Nonsense Nexus. We're doing a flicks and giggles today, so welcome. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host X. She's Ree, and she's gonna sit here and let me walk you through my quick little once over. I saw MAXXXINE this weekend, and so we're doing a short spoiler-free. I'm very big on no spoilers. Look at that.
I'm
So
not.
let's just jump into it.
I like
Now,
spoilers, but okay, go ahead.
I went in blind. I had no idea this was a part 3 because I'm clearly not smart. And as a wannabe cinephile, I'm downgrading myself to wannabe because that just went whoosh over my head because I never saw X. And I didn't know Pearl was part 2, and this is part 3, and Pearl's technically a prequel. So I had no idea what I had started up, but
Wait,
knowing that after I saw it kind of adjusted how I'm reviewing this.
okay, so to be clear, there's the first one that came out in this series, because I didn't know about this shit either.
X is
Um,
part 1.
X is part 1,
Pearl's part
Pearl is
2.
part 2, and then
MAXXXINE's part 3.
MAXXXINE. Okay, all right.
That's why there's 3 X's in her name in the title, because it's
But the other one's called Pearl, but okay, all right.
Pearl's a prequel. So
Got it.
this is technically 2 chronologically. Now,
Okay.
let's just bust this bad boy open because I have a lot to say, but I don't have a lot to say. It's really I think it's a nice, concise movie. I think it's about an hour and 44 minutes, so it doesn't drag or get long in the tooth. But somebody has a 1980s nostalgia affliction in this movie. Like, there's literally a whole song's worth of time that's just dedicated and spent on showing 1985. And specifically also Hollywood Boulevard in 1985. Rather sleazy, rather grimy. And that actually plays into like the setting and what's going on in the world a bit, but damn it, I get it. You don't gotta do this and just bombard me with the 80s. Like, stop. Like, a lot of movies are milking this. And I believe we have so many movies that are worshiping the prolonged 80s in the movies. I think it's going beyond checking the box for nostalgia. I think there's like a greater conspiracy going on of like, I really just want to do blow on camera.
Yeah.
But I want to pretend it's prop powder and we're just really doing blow on a movie. I think that's happening. Because there's this duck, and that's all I'm going to say. Just if you ever watch it and you're like, what are you talking about? There's this duck, and it's just like, that's the second most amount of cocaine I've ever seen in a movie. Anyway, the movie.
Okay.
There's a black guy.
Great.
How much you want to bet he gets unalived before it's too late? Anyway, okay, so in all honesty, I like MAXXXINE. I'm not saying the movie, I'm talking about the character right now. I like her. She's clearly been through some shit. Some serious shit, because she is not a well young lady. But, and again, I'm prequel ignorant at the moment. So, if anybody's seen that, comment. I want to know a little bit more about X and or Pearl before I watch them later this week. So, get down in the wordy bits below the video screen. Unless YouTube's doing that thing where they're off to the side. They did that for a couple weeks, and I was like, yeah, I hate this. I want them below. But the movie does a good job for being part 3 and harkening back to those other parts with flashbacks. And I mean flashbacks. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, just little flashes of horror scenes that I'm assuming are from the previous movies that are affecting how MAXXXINE assimilates to real life now. Like, that's why I mean, like, she's been through some shit and it's just like hitting you. But like a flashback that's like 3 seconds, ain't that better than like the 17-minute long refresher scene that's like, oh, I'm going into a flashback now. And the screen goes all white, and then suddenly you're watching a 20-minute CW show of someone being 17 years old and something happened to them. I like this. I support the mindset to say, just give me flashes and quick looks back, because if you care so much, go watch the other movie. We made another movie. We made 2 other movies, so I like that idea. But Maxine's the type of chick to like cut your throat for like you directly trying to harm her, and she can go like right up to slashing your throat and killing you. She's the type to go right back to work afterwards, like she didn't do anything because she knows I did what I had to do.
Ah.
SOB shouldn't have been trying to kill me. But she's not like without a reasonable, warm human heart either. So they do show that in her.
Okay.
That's why I think like I'm gonna say it here in a minute, but like it starts off very promising. Like, ooh, I'm interested. Tell me about her life. What's going on here? Single woman living by herself in LA. Standard LA dream. I want to be famous. I want to be a star. She's got that, except she's kind of in the adult entertainment business. Um, film, stage, little the booths. I don't know what those are called, but like, is that a peep show where like you put money in the thing and the curtain opens up and she's sitting there on the couch waiting and she's going blah blah blah. The obvious killer is walking around with leather gloves and a leather jacket that are like such old leather because you can hear it kind of like that noise when he's balling his hands up. He's like watching her in the booth very early and he's so agitated he rips like the handlebar off the peep show window. And I'm like, she would have heard that on the other side of the thing, but whatever. Movie set in the Night Stalker 1985 LA, where everyone is just afraid of that serial killer. Like, oh, this dude is out here just killing people at random. And so people around MAXXXINE are getting killed. Like, oh, we're going to a party tonight, and they wind up dead. Or we're going to a party, and they end up dead bodies dumped in the cemetery next to a pond or something with like a pentagram etched into their dead skin, looking like the Night Stalker did it. So the question we're having at the beginning of the movie is it him? Is the Night Stalker doing this? Why is he coming after MAXXXINE? Again, I don't know shit about parts 1 and part 2.
So the Night Stalker is the dude with the gloves.
Maybe. I'm not spoiling that.
Damn it. Okay.
But so I'm gonna say outright, Act 1 is good because it sets up a who's doing it, classic thriller slasher kind of mystery, killer stalking this girl. Why is he coming after her? Who is it? Is it the Night Stalker? How did she just get on this person's radar?
Okay.
Not bad. Then we also get a nice cool scene showing like putting her how hardcore this girl is to the test, where we get to see exactly how she responds to somebody coming up on her in a dark alley with a blade. And this girl, this type of girl, like I said, she'll cut your throat and go to work the next morning. She got a gun in her purse. She is far from a punk.
Ready. Okay.
Far from a punk. If she does something wildly unnecessary, I will leave it as genital mutilation is featured in this film. I'll leave it that. The gore is an A24 movie. The gore is out here. You will see some viscera and some wild shit. All right, so but she does have at least like 2 or 3 friendly coworkers that she can say what's up to at work and has a good relationship with, and she's got at least one real solid wholesome person in her corner. So she's not exactly a monster herself as we see her. Act 2, we introduce another character really gets prominent in Act 2, and that's a private detective that's been hired to find her. That's played by Kevin Bacon. He's playing like 1980s sleazeball. Got 2 gold teeth in the front up here. Just grimy dude. So grimy. He's having fun. I can tell Kevin Bacon's like, oh, I'm about to knock this out. We're gonna have a great time.
Good at bad guy grimy.
We're having a great time.
Yeah.
And so now MAXXXINE has murders around her, and the problems of her past are bubbling up because this private detective's like, I know what you did. My employer knows what you did. And my employer is a powerful man. He wants you to come back or come with me, and sends her a video that's got like evidence of something she did. And they don't show it too much because all it showed was like the top half of her from here up, obviously engaging in sexual activity with the person. And I'm like, she's a adult film star. Like, you got to be more specific, bro. That's not going to shake me.
Right.
And so it's like he indicates Kevin Bacon's character represents something from your past bubbling up. And then there's still this other nonsense of who's killing people around you. And that's as far as the cool shit happens. From this point on, I start to feel very, oh, we're fumbling. This is where we start to fumble the ball. We get into Act 3, and my notes here say, cue the cheese whiz. Um, Act 3, we get the reveal of who the killer is, why the killer's been killing, all your classic stuff. And like, everyone in this movie, I think, was doing a great job of being a solid actor and performing and doing their thing, except the killer. I was just like, oh, man, this dude's throat. Let's get out of here. That's all I was saying when we got to that part of the movie. But it got super corny. Main bad guy just cheesed it up really hard towards the end. I like literally wrote here, "Oh God, make him stop." So I guess I want to say it just kind of lacks polish overall. Gritty, gory, escalates a bit fast in the end. Like, hurry, let's get to the ending. Pop, pop, pop. We're done. We've shown everything we had to show. So, like, if this movie had been 2 hours, it would have been way too long. I think this could have been like a little shorter. I think you could have knocked like 7, 8 minutes off of it. But I was going to ask you, hasn't seen it, do you feel like 5 to 8 minutes of like literal just establishing the setting and background shots of just showing California in 1985 is like, how long do you need to watch that to get it? You know what I mean?
So I need to know specifically what you mean because, okay, so you're saying, and you're not exaggerating, like 5 to 8
No.
minutes of what? Like people on the streets with their boom boxes and
Yes.
like, oh, okay. So they're
Yes.
really like, hey, like all
Walking on the
the,
Hollywood Walk of Fame and all
right,
the little
the
smutty
Hollywood
shops that were on
sign
Hollywood Boulevard
and
back then, and people doing cocaine just liberally and smoking everywhere they go. Like, okay,
so
I get it.
literally
Damn.
like every 80s movie. But
Yeah.
they've done, I mean, every 80s movie when they set the scene and that kind of stuff and they play the old 80s music in the background, usually hip hop, and like that lasts maybe like 15, 20 seconds. So you're saying that they did that for 5 to 8 minutes, but like with talking or just like a song in the background? Like
Like,
what do you
split screened it like we were watching it on Discord to make sure they showed us people on the street walking, people in cars. Like, there was not conversation happening. And it wasn't necessarily following Maxine through anything. It was just like, here's what's happening on the street, Hollywood Boulevard, 1985. Like, okay, I get it. Damn. You put 1985 up on the screen in giant text. I know what year it is.
So
You
I feel
don't
like
gotta
that's a
show
lot.
me.
Also, though, I'm wondering because in the 80s, 90s, maybe early 2000s, I want to say there was a good amount of movies coming out that was from the 60s. So I wonder if like that happened before too in some movies. So like, you know, I'm
I
just
mean,
wondering.
it's a
Um,
I'm just saying it's a little off-putting because I came here to watch a murder movie and a stalker slasher style thing,
well,
and
no, and I agree fully, but I'm just saying maybe it's because you have young adults who were born in 20 to the year 2000, and it's like they don't know. I mean, I'm not going to speak for all of them, but maybe they I feel like they don't give these kids credit. That's what it sounds like. It's like, hey, we really are drilling in. This is the 80s. Do you guys know the 80s? Okay, if you don't, this is what it looked like. And
I
I
think
don't
they beat
know.
him over the head with it. Like, I think this
I,
just did it too much. Like, it was a pad. Like, if you're trying to get a sense of the 80s, there are
right.
other movies to do it with that don't drive it home like this. Like, movies clearly made in 2022, 2023, filmed to be in an older style, but you're just like
Yeah. But that is
overwhelming
a
as
long
fuck.
time. Usually it's
And
about
they
a good
also,
20, 30 seconds or maybe 2 minutes while the credits of like starring blah, 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 blah or
they did it
whatever.
more than once, is my real problem. Like, you did a nice little
Ah,
segment for 30 seconds and you came back to it for another minute and a half. It's like, up. And then the concept of the Night Stalker is what drew me to watch it because I thought this was more related to that actual real event. Um, and I didn't know it was related to previous movies more than that one instance. So it makes me feel like, oh, they said the words Night Stalker. They were showing every news headline, real news clips from in there, and it was just constantly being talked about. And I know why, without spoiling it, but like, it's not like a major reveal that really saves the movie. It's just like, you said Night Stalker too much for how this movie ends up going. And meh.
Well, you're not going to
So
tell me what happened, so I'm not going to ask.
I will. But overall, I think that my closing arguments on this movie are just like, without spoiling it, just kind of going through it. I do think it was worth watching, but in an odd way. First of all, for her to allegedly be a very successful 1980s pornista, I made that word up. I like it. I'm sticking to it. She didn't exactly look like the more famous ones from that era, according to Google. So that was odd, and it made her whole organization for how she did stuff. It was literally like a back room behind a back room. And I'm like, I do believe there were actual companies that were making larger amounts of money on that in that decade. But you know what I compare this movie to?
Oh, God. What?
Crock pot pulled pork, but
You were. Okay.
you've simmered it with Dr. Pepper.
Oh, my God.
Like Dr. Pepper crock pot pulled pork. Because it's like the pulled pork aspect is like, oh, there's a good movie here. There's something going on. And then towards the end, or 2/3 of the way through, you're like, no, watch this, I'm going to set it off. And you pour Dr. Pepper on the meat in the slow cooker, and it's like, what are you doing? Stop it. Everything was going so well. And you're like, nah, bro, trust me. This is going to be good. My cousin does Coke. I'm going to do Dr. Pepper, though, and it's going to blow your mind. No. Stop it. Get out of the kitchen. That's
Okay.
how I feel about it.
I'm gonna argue with you because that's not a snack. I mean, maybe to some people, I can't judge, I guess. But okay, all right.
Well,
That
that's all I really had for it. If you're a fan of X or Pearl in particular, please put something in the comments. I'm about to watch it in the next 2 days. So,
yeah,
won't spoil nothing, but let me know. Like, is it trash? Because I won't waste my time. Because if this is better than the other two, oh man, that's cool. I'm not gonna watch them.
yeah. So maybe you needed to see it, but then it being the third one makes me think they didn't need to set the scene that much. But yeah, so like, I will say A24 movies are usually like movies that are right up my alley.
Yep.
So I mean, that is probably something I'm gonna watch, but then I'm cheap as hell, so I'll just wait till it gets on something. But
I mean, if I'd paid for tickets, I'd have been like, man, since I didn't directly
oh
pay for
yeah,
a ticket,
that's
I'm like, oh
right.
no, it takes the pressure off a little bit.
Cool. All
Yeah.
right.
Thanks for kicking it with us real quick. I didn't do 3 movies in one weekend, even though I had a 5-day weekend. I'm a ridiculous person for fireworks. But thank you for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, do the things. Tell your
Do all the
mama,
things.
tell your cousins, daddies, sisters, cousins, uncles, brother, and their neighbor. But yeah, I want to hear more about X and Pearl. So hit
Yeah.
us up and comment. Thank you.
Peace.
Turn up the volume, let me hear the beat drop. Nonsense nexus in the house, we just can't stop.